What's up, you lovely people? Welcome to the channel for another video. What do we got today? Well, because Jean de Bourry is sort of opening in more countries every other month, I think tomorrow is going to be also Italy. So it's interesting to see that now he's playing in Germany, or will play in Germany. New article coming out, of course, doing the promotion for the movie. And in doing so, we get a little bit more of insight in kind of very rare interviews, right, that Johnny Depp gives. They're not very many, so it's always interesting to pick a little bit to see what he has to say. So we got here translated, thanks to ID Stewart, we got here translated from the German to the English. I hope I'm doing this in the right order. So the conversation starts. Come back. He has never been away, he says. Most recently, Johnny Depp was not in the spotlight because of his film, but because of the legal dispute. We know that. Looking back on the legal dispute with Amber H, he doesn't really want that, said Johnny Depp. Nevertheless, the actor tells how he experienced this period, and says why he founded this new production company not in the United States, but in Europe. So, we know that. Mr. Depp, your new film, Jean de Bourry, which is now in cinema, was the opening film at this year's Cannes Film Festival. How did you experience the moment when the audience greeted you there with a minute-long, 7 minutes standing ovation? He says, that was definitely an interesting moment, actually. Something like this only happens when people either think that you belong on the old age or about to die. Well, you know, there is like the sort of Oscar to the career kind of thing, right? Which is still good. You on the other end are celebrating your comeback with the film after years of legal battle with your ex, who accused you of domestic V. If I should give up the spoon at some point and then return to the living a few days or week later, that's a real comeback. Or if I break my spine and 6 years later, thanks to the miracle of medicine and a lot of physiotherapy, I can suddenly be dancing on stage again, then that's a fucking comeback. But I was never gone. Sure, my phone rang a little less for a while because I was the boogeyman for a while, but I never stopped being an actor. So it's interesting to see again that he stresses the fact that he was cancelled and had a huge impact on his life. It was not his choice to stop making movies. It was forced upon him, which I find it to be absolutely true. And the more you put together the dots, the more you see how much so many things around Johnny Depp work together in favor of AH, already from when the op-ed came forward. Actually, before. However, you also felt unjustly slandered within your own industry, right? If you tell people a lie long enough, they will eventually believe it. It's like Santa Claus. It only exists because we as parents tell our children every year that it's real. Ethically and morally a pretty weird thing, isn't it? Why do we lie in our culture for years to those fellow humans being we love most? And this is with the intention of giving the children the most beautiful experiences possible, which are not different from those of their peers. That's pretty absurd. I agree. I remember being really bummed when I discovered as a child that Santa Claus didn't exist. But what does this have to do with your personal situation? Oh, I just had to think of the keyword lies. It's a very unpleasant feeling when you can't freely tell your truth anywhere because it doesn't fit into the media's narrative. True. My situation in recent years is one of the stupidest I have ever seen in human history. Outrageous, pointless, and ultimately very painful for many people. One person falsely accused me and got a huge amount of press and attention for it because it just fit in the zeitgeist. So true, and it's still the case. Actually, I saw an article, I don't know if I'm going to do a video on House in Habit article, which she really put together very nicely all the connections, of the mainstream media. Rupert Murdoch being connected with Elon Musk, and Elon Musk being connected with AH because of the allegedly frozen embryos, right? And then this judge in the UK being connected with Rupert Murdoch because his son worked in one of the company where also Wotton was working at the time. So, and the wife of the judge that had connection with charities with AH. So you see the whole loop there of connection between Elon Musk, Rupert Murdoch, the owner of the companies in the UK, Wotton, the son of Wotton, the wife of the judge, AH being connected, between charities and being invited by the wife of the judge. Makes a lot of sense. Maybe Elon Musk pushing, I'm not just speculating because I don't know. At the time, maybe he was pushing for the agenda of basically slandering Depp because it was very convenient. So they're still doing this, by the way. So keep that in mind. And it's so incredibly sick to see that, actually, that despite everything, they're still like with the new documentary that came out, there is nothing new in that documentary, right? We have discussed this already, but you see how the director of the documentary had this bias, trying to lure in those people that perhaps didn't go through the whole trial or evidence like we did, and try to sway them, insinuating some doubts, like instilling some doubts into the audience, when in fact there is really nothing there. It's just a cop-out. Are you surely saying that your case would have been reported differently in the media without the Me Too movement? Seriously? Of course. Sponge over it. I don't really want to look back and just complain about how terrible that time was. My children are healthy and well. What could be more important? Of course I had to endure a lot. And so did other people, and there was a learning process that was intense as it was important. But in the end, after this plethora of lies, I was able to tell my truth, and it was heard. This was important, especially after I lost a first defamation trial against Rupert Murdoch and the poor people at this newspaper, The Sun. Nevertheless, it's not remotely the case that I think about this thing every day, or that it has an influence on every decision I make. In any case, it's no coincidence that you're no longer filming in Hollywood, but in Europe at the moment, isn't it? Well, some stories have to take place in Europe, just like Jean de Bourry or my next directorial work about 2 days in the life of the painter Modigliani. The film will be set in Paris in the early 20th century, so we are shooting in Budapest, where it still looks a bit like the old Paris. That's that simple. So you think you turn your back on the US per se because you think you were treated unfairly there? Let's put it this way. If you have just spent half the night in front of the camera for the third part of a blockbuster series, probably is referring to the Harry Potter franchise, and the next morning you are unmistakably told to please withdraw from the project and the role, you can't help but feel cancelled. At last, that's how I felt. Accordingly, my production company, Infinitum Nihil, still exists in the US, but I don't see any need to shoot film in Hollywood at the moment, and possibly team up with a studio that will then want to give me regulations. The people who are mostly responsible for films there are not much more than accountants who just bring in the same formulaic stories to the screen. I couldn't agree more, honestly. I prefer to do my own thing, with my new small company In2, which is based in Europe. Again, Johnny Depp, we've heard some of this stuff already, and I actually look forward to see some news on the shooting of Modigliani. I mean, he's a man, doesn't really have to chase Hollywood anymore, right? So it might be actually beneficial for him to work on smaller projects. I frankly myself feel that so much of Hollywood is experiencing such fatigue, which the movies are just the same stuff over and over again. Some companies, they've tried to put so much emphasis in trying to make everything about the boss women or whatnot, that in doing so they're destroying a lot of great stories. But that's not the only thing. Like he says, it's really just a format that it's so being misused by now that really only smaller project creators probably will have the chance, by being free from the higher ups, so to speak, of trying something new. And that would be great, because that's how you do art. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts on this. Also, please hit the like, leave a comment, subscribe if you want, and I'll talk to you later. Ciao.